I got all these buttons. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Nom Watch Review. Yay! On the Nom Talk network. On this show, we review the latest film drop or a throwback, celebrating a milestone while eating and drinking our favorite movie snacks and drinks or whatever we feel like. I'm your host for the evening, Stephanie, and right now I'm enjoying a coffee. Don't ask where I got it because it doesn't have a label and I forgot already. Great. I am super excited to introduce to you all our guests for the evening. We have a regular, Miss Whitney.
Hello.
Whitney, hi. What are you eating today or drinking or whatever?
Yep, I'm having some horchata right now. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah.
Horchata, yes. And then we have two new friends of the tonight in evening. The coffee hasn't kicked in. I apologize for my stutter and stumble. It's my life. I have Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hello.
Kelly is the tell people what you do. I
I'm
love
the
talking.
marketing director at First Stop Cosplay.
Yay! And what are you
Yay.
indulging in this evening?
I am drinking a lime tequila margarita in a can, but it's good. It's not bad. My brother brought him. Now it's like I need something to drink. This was the only thing in the fridge, so I was like, whatever, screw it. Grabbing, drinking, it's not bad.
Yellow.
I've had better, but it's not bad.
And then we also have Toni.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Toni, you look ready. You look ready
I
tonight.
am. I'm
Oh my
so
God.
ready. Like, listen, I'm of an age and I am Mexican American. So I've just been waiting for my moment to live out my Selena fantasy. So, like, I bought this hat, no joke. I think I was like 14 or so. And I
Oh
am
my God.
that was like over 2 decades ago. So, like, that's how long it's just been sitting there. And I definitely put on my MAC Selena collab lipstick on today. I can't remember what's the name of it. It's something amazing and wonderful. It is called Como la Flor. Of course it is. Yes. So it's
It's my
beautiful and
favorite
wonderful.
song.
So I'm ready. Also, I am partaking in a dirty martini, and the snack I'm having are the olives that are in that dirty martini. So yeah, man, we're ready.
That counts. All right, well, let's get down to business. Tonight, we are talking about Selena, the movie that is celebrating 20 years. It's the film that starred Jennifer Lopez. And let's get down to the dirty deeds. I'm just kidding. There's nothing dirty about it. I'm back. Okay. Right? I'm just like, what? What? Okay, but this movie is 20 years old. It is based because Hollywood is always based on and never accurate. But this is based on the singer from the 90s named Selena, and it was originally Selena y los Dinos, and then it became Selena. So let's talk about the movie. Let's start with the story, because there was also this Netflix show that came out a couple years ago, and we can talk about that right now, but right now we're not going to talk about Bruno. So the movie. let's I found the story itself because I think the first time I watched this movie was when it first came out, but I only remember watching it in high school later in Spanish class, because that's how you learn. You learn by engulfing, apparently, in movies from Hollywood.
No.
Can I just say that I have seen the Spanish version that you're talking about? And I just wanted to point out, and I don't think anybody else has ever said it to me, and I can't understand why, because I know for a fact that we all watched this movie in Spanish class. The woman who they got to do the Spanish dubbing of Selena, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Jennifer Lopez actually has to sing a little bit herself during that Monterey concert scene, the first like Como la Flor like intro.
Yeah.
And the woman that got to do the dubbing is not a singer.
Oh
And
no.
horrifying. So if you ever just like need something to just like, oh dear, that happened, yeah, go check that out, because it's just that poor woman, wherever she is, like, thoughts and prayers, because it's not great.
Big oof.
Okay, So we never watched it in Spanish. We watched it the Hollywood way. It's very tragic. Now I want to watch it with the Spanish dub. Just to hear what you're saying, what you're talking
Not
about.
good. Not good. Not good.
But I did remember it being in high school. I found it like a fantasy movie with a very, very tragic ending. In real life, it was a fucking tragic ending. So yeah, it's one of those movies that like I watched it and I can't stop watching it, even though it reminds me of much sadness. I still want to watch it. I don't know how to word that, but Toni, tell us what did you think of the story in the film?
I mean,
Period.
I definitely think it captures the way Selena's fans felt about her. I don't know if I could really speak to like how factual it is according to like what actually happened to her, because unfortunately, I think now, especially with so much distance between, you know, her death and now, and definitely her peak, her prime, whenever she was like, you know, out and about, you know, doing, you know, the Houston, you know, live huge show in the Astrodome, like there's really no, I would say, a reliable, you know, account of like what that was like for her personally. But I think the Selena movie does capture perfectly the way in which we saw her and how much, you know, she was adored and how like quickly, you know, relatively, because I think what the movie does show is like starting from when they were kids, getting some, you know, fame, especially like, you know, in, you know, regionally and definitely like on Spanish language, you know, radio, especially Tejano radio. Like, and then of course it just kind of seemed like she just came out of nowhere, you know, and then she was gone, you know. So I think it captures that, you know, just from that perspective. But yeah, I remember seeing this and it was not, I think it was released in 97.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, she died in 95.
Mhm.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
seems right. So it was very quick. It was still like 2 years is not a lot of time. And I remember like going to see this movie and like people are like in tears. People were like, this is before movie theaters with like, you know, assigned seating, just in the normal seating, like assigned seating with like a luxury thing. People were
Right.
sitting like in the aisles. Like the theater was packed. Like people were sobbing, crying, you know, just like it was a whole to do. It was still like really fresh and it was a lot. Like I remember it being a lot, but it also felt like, okay, I'm not crazy to feel this way, to like miss this person that like I never knew. I just enjoyed the music. And I should also go ahead and say this, like I am Mexican American. I grew up in a predominantly like, you know, majority minority town. A lot of Mexicans, you know, and a lot of like, you know, Hispanics like in my community, you know, so it definitely, I wasn't like the only kid grooving on Selena, but it, I didn't grow up speaking Spanish. Spanish was like my very first language. So I spoke it for like the first 5 years of my life. And then school hit and I forgot it like in like 6 months or so. So I spent the majority of my formative years not speaking Spanish. The only Spanish I still know to this day are Selena lyrics. So like she was just ubiquitous. She was everywhere. So to kind of like have this huge reaction, not only to her music and her life, and then ultimately what, you know, the tragedy of losing her in such a horrific way. And then this movie all of a sudden right after it, like it just felt like a thing. I can't even call it a phenomenon. It just felt like something that was very specific to her life and the timeline in which everything was just kind of like shrunk into this relatively short amount of time. The end.
Mic drop. Kelly, what about you? What was your experience and how did you feel about the movie?
I was 8 when I saw the movie. So I was young and I was like, oh, this music is so cool. I love this music. And I don't know, like we had the cassette. And we'd play it in the car and me and my mom would sing. And yeah, it's a tragic story, but I have good memories from it. Or because of it.
That's sweet.
And I have no idea how many times I watched that movie.
I mean, you had it on VHS, so it was...
Yeah, I had it on VHS. I probably wore that thing out. I don't know what happened to it. My mom probably threw it away because you couldn't watch it anymore.
Much sadness. My God. Mama. Why? Well, Whitney, what about you?
Yeah, Selena was a huge part of my childhood and just my life in general, because I too am Mexican American and my first language was Spanish. And so I was actually listening to her music while she was alive. And I remember because I'm a singer, and even when I was younger, I knew I wanted to be a singer, and she inspired that because here was this woman who looked, she was Latina and she was out there, and I didn't see a lot of that, and it just felt really good to feel represented. And so I was even put in little talent shows and like her little outfits as a kid. But just like her music really resonated with me. And even up until this day, honestly, like her disco medley, like even I'll hear like the original singers and I'll be like, that's a Selena song. I don't care. That's Selena, but yeah, so the movie has always been played such a crucial and important role in my life. And I actually had my boyfriend watch it for the first time today. He had never seen it. I'm like, that is unacceptable. I was like, you're sitting and you're watching today.
Shame.
Dare.
But yeah, just like everyone's saying, I feel like the movie definitely did such an amazing job at capturing what was so lovable and amazing about her. Like how successful she was, but how relatable and how just like charming she was. So I love that they really focused in on that as opposed to more on like the Yolanda aspect of things like that. I feel like that was done beautifully.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, we can get into, well, I mean, we could get into it now. All right, cool. How did you feel about the casting, like with Jennifer Lopez playing as Selena, and like do you feel like there were any other actors who could have done a better job at that time, or do you think the decisions that they made at that point of casting was good enough or good?
I think Jennifer Lopez was honestly the perfect casting for Selena. Like she's musically trained, she's a singer, she's a dancer, but she's also very charming. Like I said, she's very relatable, and she was able to portray the musical side and the charming, lovable side of Selena. And I honestly can't see anybody ever playing her.
Yeah, I feel that.
I think it's really
Yeah, same.
it's really easy to clown on Jennifer Lopez now, because especially now, like after she did this movie, then she's gone on the record and said it multiple times, like I felt inspired to actually kick off my own musical career. So now it's kind of like easy to clown on her, because it's just like, okay, you can't do it all, like calm down. To call her, I think, with all of the scandals and the just the buzz and the what am I trying to say? Just, the way in which we kind of like view her now as sort of like this new age Liz Taylor kind of thing, where she's just like picking up husbands left and right. And, like now she's got a whole new Ben Affleck, like the second time around. And, it's really easy to clown her, but she's a really good actress. And I think people are under the mistaken notion that she's playing herself in Selena, but she's playing a whole character. And the family has gone on record and saying like it was spooky to be on set with her, because it was like, oh, you're for real playing our daughter, and it's not a joke, and it's real, and it's like too much for us, and like it's a lot. And even when, like as a kid, like it used to be like a thing for me and my friends to like, especially after her death, you would like pick apart like videos and dance moves, and like the way in which she would say certain things, and the way that she would laugh, or just the way in which she would like style, like the way I remember like girls having whole conversations about the way that she would like hold her microphone. And then I would like go back and I was like, I've never had to pick apart Jennifer Lopez, because those are things that were never wrong. She nailed it like completely and totally. So I think we forget how dedicated she was to it, how much work she put into it. Yeah, she was perfect, and she had the body for it. I mean, let's be real. We've seen other women try to play Selena, and it's not gone well because they just couldn't do it in one respect or another. And yeah, the body was also part of it. So yeah, I think she was perfect.
All right, all right. Okay. Anything that you would like to add or?
Jennifer Lopez was perfect as Selena. Her parents, Constance Marie and Edward James Olmos, were really good as being her parents as well. We went to, my family and I went to go see George Lopez one time, and Constance Marie, she played the wife, and my mom yelled out, she was like, "Do the washing machine!" And she actually did it. Yeah, it was great. But yeah, like they were amazing as her parents. And I mean, hell, not George Lopez. Jennifer Lopez.
The
She was
other
amazing.
Lopez.
Yeah, you put that in my mind. Now I'm trying to imagine George Lopez doing something like
Doing the washing machine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And Toni, you mentioned already like there were other actresses who've tried to portray Selena, but they couldn't nail it the way that Jennifer Lopez did. Do you want to dive in deeper about what productions we may be possibly talking about?
Yeah, don't watch that Netflix series. Save yourself. That's
Don't
so
waste your
hard.
time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think for me, because I didn't watch it initially when it came out, because I wasn't hearing really great things, and I tend to trust, the opinions of people, especially the people that I know that enjoyed the Selena movie. And they were just like, yeah, it's very weird, it's very odd, it's very like they're centering in on the family rather than on Selena. But then I was hearing rumblings about how that was making sense because it was something that was being like the family was heavily involved, and they felt like that was a story that needed to get out, apparently, or the multiple stories that were never told in the Selena movie or in Selena narratives weren't told about them, which is like, then why not call it the Quintanillas? Why not call it Selena y los Dinos? Why not make it clear that like this is something that's going to involve an ensemble rather than something that's centered on a single person? That seems weird. Like I would think the same thing if I was like watching a Netflix series called Michael Jackson. All of a sudden I'm hearing about Marlon Tito, and the rest of that. Like it would just be weird, right? Because it's like, that's not what I thought I was signing up for. And then when I finally sat down to attempt to watch it, I can't even pretend like I got through it all, but it just is first off, the tone is very somber in my opinion. But then even the actress, it's just, she's such a slight little thing. And you can tell that she's really trying her hardest to perform, but she herself is not a performer. She's not a musical performer. She's not a dancer. I would be very surprised to learn that if she is a dancer, because it just is like night and day, I think, when you see her versus Jennifer Lopez, who was a professional dancer before she broke into acting. And also physically too, like the actress, I cannot remember her name and I'm so sorry, but she's a very, very different body type from the original Selena and Jennifer Lopez. And that's just something that becomes very obvious in certain shots with certain lighting. And you can see how they've tried to pad out her figure, and it's not flattering, and it just feels weird because it's like, this is such a monumental figure to a lot of people that you wouldn't go ahead and make sure that you could at least figure out how to make body modifications and body padding look convincing. It felt icky. It felt icky when I tried to watch it. So I just stopped. And I'm trying to convince as many people as I can to just if you're going to, just know what you're probably going to see and just make your peace with it, I guess. And yeah, icky.
People thinking, oh, it can't be that bad. And then they watch it and they're probably going to be like, oh.
I've yet to meet a person who likes it. I think my mom just watches it because she feels like she has to. Like she's somehow still supporting Selena somehow. I don't know. But again, she doesn't talk about it I think she hate watches it, honestly. I think she just watches it to be like, that person is awful. I've heard awful things about them. And according to Chris Perez's book, they're not good people. And oh my God, she's awesome whenever she gets on a rant. But yeah, I have yet to meet someone who's like, yeah, it was great. Good stuff.
See, I remember watching the movie. Oh God, it's in the sad part.
Turn it off.
I'm just gonna look at y'all now. When I was watching the movie, I felt like there were so many parts that were lacking, or like we didn't get the full experience of like Selena's life. And to be fair, it was the 90s, Hollywood, and there's only so much that people are willing to talk about, especially since it was so close to when she was she left the earth. We'll say that. That sounds a lot nicer. And that's why I was curious about the Netflix show, because I know Kelly hasn't watched it. Whitney, have you watched it?
I did, yeah, and I share the same sentiments where I just was severely disappointed because it
Mhm.
was just very somber, and even then, it just didn't seem genuine to me. It didn't feel or look like Selena. And I felt like it was someone performing, and they were doing everything they could, and I mean they were doing everything right, but there's only so much you can do, but I just feel like it just wasn't clicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan, unfortunately.
You can hear the disappointment in both of
Yeah.
your voices when you talk about it.
Yeah.
And I watched it just to like, because the movie didn't feel complete in my life. I mean, it wasn't complete, obviously. And I thought I would get some of that in the show, and lo and behold, it was a lot of somberness. It was very depressing. I was very sad the entire way. Uh so yeah, shame on you, Netflix. And didn't Chris Perez say that he was not allowed anywhere near this project, and he felt like he didn't get a chance to say his piece in the show as well? Oh yeah, you sip that. You sip that drink. But
I think it's very weird I mean, of all people, I could understand if it was like a random cousin, but to literally tell her husband, her one and only husband, that you can't be a part of this storytelling process, that to me is just my mom gave me all the tea on that. And it just was like, it was a very like, that's a choice. But then it also was like, what good it could come from that? Because all the fans are now going to feel like, well, who's going to know you better, your husband or your family?
mhm.
Especially in a Mexican American family. Like, as much as I love my family, I can definitely tell you they don't know me as well as like my significant others. So it just feels like a very weird choice to make, especially so
Yeah.
publicly. It's, I don't know. It's very odd. I know that there's got to be a majillion and one things that are just kind of like happening in the background, but it's like, can y'all just get it together for this like beautiful person that we no longer have? Can y'all just
Yeah.
get your shit together?
Like I'm sure she would not want this at all. And that's what's so sad. That's like what's heartbreaking, because if she saw the state of things between, Chris and the family, she would be so like distraught.
Mm,
For sure.
yeah,
100%.
I agree. And also, I want to clarify for those that are seeing the description, I can't math, and it's 25 years since the film's been out, not 20. Not 20, 25. I can't math. Like, me looking down earlier was going on a calculator and making sure, because it was out in 1997, and my brain was like, it's not 2020. It's not, the math doesn't add. So I apologize. And I am aware that I made a boo-boo. It's okay. But
All
those
just
that are
math. We can't do math when we're in mourning. We're all in the grieving process still 25 years later.
Yes.
yeah. And for those that are tuning in right now, hi, welcome. This is Nom Watch Review. We are reviewing the film Selena, celebrating 25 years, because I know how to use math with a calculator. And we just finished talking a little, spilling some tea about the Netflix show, because there is that Netflix show that half of us are
Garbage.
saying, well, I mean, the majority has said you probably don't want to watch it. So let's just I mean, like, there's the directing bit of the film, and how did you feel about the way that the film was directed? Like the style and the color schemes that they used and the what and not? Who would like to start?
I mean, I thought it was directed very well. I loved like I said, I loved the whole film. I thought it was done very tastefully. I always think it's interesting when, and this is just kind of like not quite a side note, but it's like, for example, when they're in Mexico, how like the color scheme is always like a yellowish, and they always do that in films where it's like in a different country, but it's always like either like Central America or like different countries like Pakistan or India, where it's like very like yellowish hues. Whereas like in European countries, it's blue and elegant, but they tend to always stick to yellow hues. And I know that was like a big thing where I think like more filmmakers have been more aware of that. But that was interesting. And watching it today with my boyfriend who studied film, and we are both like, there it is, the infamous like Mexico yellow hue. But I mean, besides that, though, everything, I thought it was fantastic. It's one of my favorite movies.
Kelly?
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I think they did a really good job. The costumes were also, but from what I remember, because it's been a very long time, but I still hold it close to my heart. Yeah, they did a really good job.
Okay. Toni?
So the director is Gregory Nava, who directed Mi Familia. I think it was like in 94, 95-ish. And it's like the four main characters, like I think like Edward James Olmos, Constance Marie, Jennifer Lopez, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember his name, but the actor who plays AB when he's an adult, they're all in that movie. So I do believe, like, to some extent, he was just like, I know these people, they can do it. Like, I'm going to bring my people along. But it also was just like, yeah, that's it. That's the family right there. What more could you ask for whenever you're trying to cast a bunch of, and when you're trying to cast as many people as you need to for, a movie focused in on a Mexican-American family. But I felt like he captured what it was to like be in a Mexican-American family. Like I remember the scenes where her mom has to like come out and yell at her because the chicken is pooping in the bathtub. And just the way, I can't even remember, I think it's the way she says caca that like was like, like, okay, yep. I know where I'm at. This is gonna be okay. We're all okay, everybody. Like it just felt like we're in good hands.
Or even like the bustier thing when he's like bustier, busti caca, and I'm like, yeah.
And it feels, and especially like with Mexican Americans, and especially Mexican Americans from Texas, which my family is from Texas, and I always feel like that's a very good distinction to make, because now moving from Florida, where there are a bunch of, Mexican Americans from Texas, and now moving over here to California, where there's a ton of California Mexicans, and it's two completely different subcultures. We're similar enough that, we recognize each other, but it's different enough where it's just like, okay, this is weird. So I feel like it was a really, really big distinction to make, and it had to feel a very specific way, but it's almost unquantifiable. But just in the way in which they're talking to each other, or the fact that they actually show Edward James almost sleeping in his tighty-whities. Like, I don't know of any other movie that would have made that choice in order to signify like that's a Mexican dad who's comfortable in his own home and he don't give a shit who's gonna like see his bits and bobs. Like, and I just, or even just the way that like, the costumes, the onstage costumes were one thing, but I feel like where it really like makes me feel like they got it right is all the clothes that she would wear off stage. And it felt very much like that's Mexican girl next door. That is like the it girl. That is the girl that you're just like, oh, why can't I dress myself like that? Like, I'm going to the same mall you are. Why don't I look like that? But it felt like that is attainable. It is accessible, but it still felt glamorous enough also for a movie without it being weird and alienating. or I don't, it's just very specific things that I just like, if I tried to pick them all out, it would feel, I don't know, like there would be too many to name, but they would also be so tiny and minuscule that it's almost like trying to, it's, yeah, like how do I describe that to someone who hasn't lived it? Like if I just point at it, somebody else like is going to be like, yeah, totally. But then if I tried to describe it to somebody else outside of my community, they're just like, yeah, so happy for you. So glad that you feel seen and represented. That's great. That's wonderful. So I definitely feel like directing everything that came, together in order to like tell that story, and especially tell that story about a Mexican American family, like it was all there. So I was very, very happy with it.
I feel like I shouldn't be being the host because obviously I'm Korean white, so I felt connected in the way where like she was like I don't know Spanish, like why would I be singing songs in Spanish if I don't know what I'm saying? And that's how I felt with Korean for the longest time. And like when I was a kid watching this, I was like, okay, so I could still be famous and not have to actually know what I'm saying? Great. Granted, I'm like 8, 9, child, youth. I don't know any better. But it's just her voice was so captivating to me. Like even in Spanish and English, whichever and whatever, every time I heard her voice, like on the radio or in class when we were watching the movie in high school, or even like when I went to go pick up my partner, I was blasting Selena because it was just like, it was so complex. It was so deep. Like there was so much emotion in that. And that's what I noticed in the TV show that we don't want to talk about. That we don't really like. That's what I noticed in the show, because at least she was able to show some sort of emotion, whether or not it was genuine to the singer. It still gave me that little bit. Like that was just enough, almost musically. That was enough. But yeah, I loved the fact that this was a movie not for white girls, not for white boys. It is a movie for Mexican Americans, especially girls, like little girls and young women. Like it was that I liked it. I can't word very well, but I liked it. And shout out to J Fancy Pants 13. Thanks for following the channel. Yay. But I would also love to hear viewers in what you think, what you felt about the movie, what you felt about the singer. But we can honestly dive into like her music. Like obviously we've all heard her music. We've all listened to Selena or Selena y los Dinos.
I was driving back up from San Diego. I spent the weekend in San Diego, and I was driving back up, and I was just like, perfect time to listen to Selena. So I just let it play, and I just was like, I forget how many genres they did. And just because they had, Selena and Selena y los Dinos, I mean, it's not just like a 3-year career. I mean, like it was over the course of 15 years plus since they were little babies. So just to know that there was like so many genres from, they sing, like these like Mexican power ballads, like Vicente power ballads, where it's just like, yes, I feel it 100%. You don't need it, all the way up to like, I remember she did that song with the Barrio Boys. And I was like, oh my God, who remembers the Barrio Boys?
Yeah.
Or she would even sneak in like a couple of like English language tracks into like her her Spanish albums, just because that's what she loved. Like the movie, I think like does a very good job of like selling the fact that she's into American pop music. She loves Madonna. She loves Donna Summer. She loves Paula Abdul. And she's bringing all of that, which was at the time not controversial, just that nobody else was doing it. Everybody was dressed like in their norteño best, like the hats, the studs, the buckles, and here she is. I remember she was on the Tejano, I think it was the Tejano Music Awards, and she's singing one of her songs, and she's got like I think 4 or so like black backup dancers, male backup dancers that are just like dancing. And I'm like, if I didn't know what song she was singing, I would think that she's like doing a full on like Paula Abdul dance number, because it looks
Yeah.
like it should be something like on the Billboard
Yeah.
Awards, the American Music Awards, but it was just very like, F yeah, like you look great, I love you, you know. So I really did enjoy that about her music, that there is something for everybody. Like if you are like a fan of like classic Selena, like before the English crossover was even impending, you know, I just, yeah. And I love all the stuff she did in between. And her voice is so great. I don't think we talk enough
Incredible.
about like how distinctive her voice is, because there's nothing about it that's like out there. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing about it that's like, oh, it's such a raspy voice, or it's such a deep voice, or it's such a high, you know, there's no extreme to it, but it's just very distinctive. And I just, yeah, I love listening to her. Man, I miss her. Oh my God, I'm so sad
Me
right
too,
now.
I know.
Aw.
Me too.
More drinking. Sorry, excuse me.
I feel like this is probably why some of the hosts on Nom Talk Network were like, no, I don't want to. I love it, but I don't want to. Like, I
Right.
understand, because then you feel the emotion of like, damn, I miss it. Like, I miss her. I miss the voice. I miss all of it. And it's never coming back. It sucks. But
you know what though? I've been trying to watch Euphoria, right? Just so that way I can like not be, you know, an almost middle-aged woman who's not watching the things that everybody else is watching. And I'm just like, I don't know if Maddie knows it, but she's full on channeling Selena. Like almost everything that chick wears, where it's like tight spandex or like very like, you know, sharp eyeliner and, you know, the deep red lips, or like the very dramatic lips. And maybe that's just because in the in the 90s, we all felt like, you know, eyeliner, eyebrows, lips, like that's all that we had access to. But it just feels like her style, and maybe because she's not getting the credit that she definitely deserves, but like I just see her everywhere, especially right now where like people are definitely going through that whole thing, like that purple Houston Astrodome. Like I'm pretty sure I saw that in the mall. I'm pretty sure I saw the bell bottoms with the cute little tummy outfit. Yes, there she is.
yes, baby.
If you can see it. And look, her little microphone has like lipstick on it too, just like hers would. How cute is that?
No. Okay, they're late.
My hometown used to do, we wouldn't do talent contests, we would do Selena contests. And there would be girls literally standing there putting lipstick, not like doing it like literally with a tube of lipstick. So that way they would do that.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
A whole thing, a whole mess. I loved it.
Aww. I feel like I want to. Okay, I'll do it. So Whitney is an amazing singer.
Oh. Thank you.
Putting you on the spot.
I'm just saying, like we've got
Thank
a
you.
singer right here, and she, you know, like it would be like I want to hear you sing a song from Selena, even if it's like one line and that's it. Like if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, sure. I'll just do like
With the
one
hand.
line.
With the hand.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
With the hand, though. Yes, I can't do
Yes.
it, but I'm sure you could.
All right, I'll do the first line of Como la Flor. All right, let's do it. All right, I don't have enough tequila for this. All right. All right. Como la flor con tanto amor me diste tú, se marchitó.
Okay, that was more
I
than
don't
one
know.
line, and made me so happy. Thank you.
I was like, wait, I have to finish because I can't be like como la flor, you know. But sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't warmed up.
To be fair, yeah, you need to warm your vocal cords, and I did not let you do that. So I
And
apologize.
horchata, milky drinks are not good for your vocals when you're about to sing. Just some vocal advice.
Apparently, French fries are.
Really?
Once we get to 2024, that we're going to get news that she stabbed a guard just so that way she can stay in jail. I don't see how she can actually like walk around.
No, she'll get like up to this day, people like she will be killed on the street. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't know enough about her situation in jail where I'm just like,
Even then, yeah.
Like, how is she still alive right now? Like, I have to imagine. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a prisoner. Like, but I have to imagine that if I'm like someone who's like, well, I'm in here, I may as well.
I'm like,
I'm
I'm
not
taking
going
Selena's
home.
killer out for you, Selena.
Right,
Anything for Selena's.
right. Anything for Selena. But yeah. But other than that, but the actual movie, bringing it back to the movie, and like R.I.P. to Lupe, the woman who played her in this movie. I remember having to like remind myself so much that like it's not her, she's not Yolanda, her name is Lupe. She's not Yolanda.
Yes, yeah, it's true.
Because every time I would see her or anything else after that, I would just be like, bitch.
Yolanda, you bitch. It's so true though. So true.
Bitch. That's how I feel about like the kid from Game of Thrones, Joffrey.
Joffrey.
Oh, I
Joffrey.
hate
yes.
him.
He
That's how I feel
retired.
about her.
He retired from acting because he was
He
just
did.
like,
He's like, I'm done.
Yes,
there's
poor
no point to
kid.
me trying to get the sitcom. There's no way. You know, I remember she played the mom in Real Women Have Curves, the movie that launched
Yeah.
America Ferrera. And I just was like, oh, you're awful. You're just an awful person. That's why you play these awful people. Oh, you're awful. I bet everybody hates you in real life. Oh, you're awful. And I just remember like that was the moment where I had to like have the conversation with myself. Like, she's not Yolanda. I'm sure she's very lovely in real life.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know. So
You never know. You never know. But what? Yeah, Yolanda's a bitch. I don't know. I don't think if and when she does come out of prison, I don't think she's gonna live that long.
No, she's gonna get shanked or shot or something.
Yeah.
She's not gonna live very long.
Yeah.
they have her in Texas. The prison she's imprisoned in is in Texas. How do you walk
Yikes.
out the gate of a Texas prison?
There are gonna be people waiting.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would.
Oh yeah.
I would. I mean,
Yeah.
or if I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna wait because it's way too obvious. It's right out here outside the gates. I'm just gonna like, let's all just wait, everybody. I feel like I would like have a Facebook group like dedicated to that day. There has to be one, right? There has to be one, right? Where it's like
100%. There has to be
like month, day to 2025, like a countdown, just waiting. And we're just like, everybody, like the Facebook invite has already gone out. Everybody knows where to be on the day. And we're just like, everybody, we're just there just to show our faces. So that way she knows that we mean business and we're just going to follow her home. I don't know.
Exactly. Like we're not meeting up over at Area 51 to do a Naruto run, okay? We are going to like get together.
Literally.
Literally. Like this has to be as big as that stupidness, if not bigger. Cause the bitch is in Texas.
I will say something about the Netflix series that I feel like they did capture this moment, and that was the time leading up to Selena's death and to that confrontation. Because I think people forget, probably because of the movie kind of glosses right over it. They just go immediately into Selena's been shot. Yolanda lured her to the hotel, like saying, like, I have the checks, the financial records that you guys have been looking for, maybe supposedly the ones that are supposed to like supposedly clear her name. But then I guess either in that phone call or once she gets there, she tells Selena, like, I went to Mexico, I took a trip, I was raped. So then Selena takes her to a hospital to get a rape kit done. And then the doctors have to tell her, like, we've done the examination and we found no signs whatsoever of assault. So do with that information what you will. And it just is like it's a weird choice to make, but it is factual, like in the context of a show that's meant to entertain, or I don't know what their purpose is with that show, but it is all the more infuriating when you think about the lengths that the actual person actually went to in order to like garner some sympathy from the person that she would end up murdering. And it's just like things that are just too much for even the movie, things that are just too much for a story. As fantastical as a Hollywood movie could be, like there were just some elements that they were just like, we don't need to get into all that because even that is probably just a step too far for the viewers. And even rightfully so, like I had forgotten all about it. I was like, oh my God, she did do that. Like it's crazy. And then we didn't get the news that Selena died when it happened. We got the news that Yolanda Saldivar had shot her and was now in the white truck. We didn't have the white Bronco. We had the white truck in that Days Inn parking lot. And I remember that being the image on television, on Telemundo, on Univision.
Yeah, watching it live while she was in there. I remember
She was
watching
there
it
for
too.
hours.
Yeah, like all night or something, right?
Seriously. And it
Yeah.
just was like, we didn't get the news that Selena had passed until
To like the next day afternoon. I
right.
remember.
And I just was like, oh my God, like all of that's so weird. It's so much more ridiculous and fantastical and extreme than even the movie shows, which, you know, I think the movie does a good job of just landing the broad strokes, getting in, getting out,
Yeah.
telling this story, the rise and the fall. But yeah, that just, I don't see how that woman can walk out. I don't see how she can breathe fresh air in Texas. I'm going to tell the truth. Like, I just don't see it happening. I'm not going to be at all surprised. And I don't think anybody's going to be like, what? No, that's horrible.
I
Oh
know.
no, she died.
Oh
Oh,
no. Like,
Tragedy.
no.
Yeah.
You know, we're all going to be blasting Selena and like having a huge party. Like,
Yeah.
get out of here.
Oh, thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
Oh,
It's like a
hashtag thoughts and
barbecue with like
prayers.
all the kids running around and everything.
Right? Kids are.
Like the fall of a dictator. We're all in the streets waving flags.
Like that scene at the end of Star Wars where they're just celebrating, you know, like across like the planet, like the galaxy.
Oh my gosh. Well, we have 10 minutes left. I know time goes by so quickly. But is there anything that you wanted to say, even if it's a repeat of what you've already said? Is there anything that you want to say about the movie and the artist? Was Whitney? You want to go first?
Yeah, just like I said, Selena was such an important part of my childhood and just my life in general. And I feel like for all Latinas, you know, seeing someone who represents your culture and yourself out there, especially at such a young age when, I mean, like, I'm glad now that, you know, it's like body positivity and culture is embraced for the most part, you know. But like back then, it was a little tougher where if you didn't fit a certain mold in society, you weren't pretty. Like if you didn't have blonde hair, blue eyes, and you know, you just weren't what society thought was beautiful. And I used to beat myself up over that. But then I saw Selena and she had her curves, she had her thick hair, and she, you know, she was singing in Spanish. And it just like, it was so relatable. And to see that, I feel like for Latinas was such a powerful thing. And so I can't stress enough how incredible it was to have her in this world and the impact she made in just all form.
I like that. Kelly?
Yeah, I grew up with the movie. I'm half white, half Mexican, and I didn't really know my white side. So I grew up just thinking I was like, oh yeah, I'm Latina, blah blah blah, whatever. But yeah, that movie definitely hits a certain way when you watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meow. Virtual hugs. And then Toni?
So much into it. Oh my God. No, I do want to echo what Whitney was saying about the representation, and I don't even think we had the language back, you know, around representation to really talk about it. But I think one of the reasons why I got so attached to her is because the way in which she was glamorous was very attainable. Like we were all wearing these earrings. We were all wearing this shade of Revlon. Like we were all like we were all doing exactly what she was doing. We were shopping in the same stores. We were wearing the same things. Like, and it was very distinctly, you know, Mexican and Latina. And it was, you know, it looked like us, you know, and not even like in a way that's like, oh, she's doing it for us. Like, no, it just like, she clearly is the girl next door. She's one of us. And she's just up there doing it the way that she thinks. What she thinks is pretty is what we think is pretty. And even when she had the means to like become even more glamorous, it's like, that's exactly how we would do that. We would wear that dress to the Grammys, 100%. Like, it felt like, oh yeah, that's real. Like there were people who are glamorous in a very unattainable way. Like Lady Gaga is very glamorous, but that's not attainable. That's a very specific form of glamour. And Selena was on the other side of the spectrum where it was like, you could do this 100%. And you do this every single day, which is why you love it so much, because it does look like us. The third thing I do want to say is when Whitney was talking about fitting into a mold, there was something about the way in which she's always described as a crossover artist. And I think it's something that's not really used today, because when I thought about it, I was like, we consume our music and our media in a completely different way. It's much more three-dimensional now, where it's not just CDs and cassettes. It's like, nobody has ever called BTS a crossover artist. Nobody's ever called Bad Bunny a crossover artist. That's just not a thing that happens anymore. People just like the music they like. And if you can sell out enough tickets to sell out a stadium, you can play that stadium. It's not a weird thing now where, you can only play the Tejano clubs if you're a Tejano artist. You can only play the reggaeton clubs if you're a reggaeton artist. Like, that's just not a thing. That's not a barrier that exists anymore. Is it because of Selena? Probably. 100%, probably. I just don't know if we've been able to really quantify the effect that she's had. I just think it's something where we are very emotional about her. But if we were to really nail down the nuts and bolts, the real numbers and effects that she's had on the way in which we listen to music now and enjoy music now and enjoy entertainment now, I'd be willing to bet that she'd be a much bigger name in that conversation than we even think about. So she's fucking awesome. And I really wish she was here. I really wish that she was here making movies with Jennifer Lopez. I really, really do. And I truly do believe that she would 100% be like, I could act. I think I could act.
Oh, she wanted to conquer everything.
Right.
Wasn't she in some novelas too? Like Bronca or something?
She would have a morning talk show, 100%. Rachel Ray, who the hell is that? Selena's on.
Right, Kelly Clarkson. What? No.
Right.
No. Yeah.
I wish she was still here, because she was awesome. She put out good shit. She was awesome. Nobody has ever had a bad thing to say about her. We've never found out that her clothes were being made in some sweatshop. It's just
she was her own sweatshop, honestly.
Right.
Her and her entire family. Yeah.
Right. So I miss her. And if you guys are watching and you don't know who we're talking about, first off, shame on you. Second of all, educate yourself, because there's some really good stuff there. So yay, Selena. Toast to Selena, wherever you are, sweetie.
Cheers, baby. We have a couple minutes left, so I want to be able to close out and share with viewers and listeners where people can find you if you want to be found. I know sometimes there are certain outlets that we don't want to really share with the world, but if you would like to tell people where to find you, we could start with a Whitney.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram under whimsicalwhitney_, and then on Facebook under Whitney Ala.
Yeah. And then Kelly.
You can find me on Instagram at manachan04, and I'm also on Facebook under Kelly Christine Willie.
Yay. Also, First Stop Cosplay.
Find us on Instagram, First Up Cosplay.
I should have made that your Instagram handle. Damn. And Toni.
You guys can find me everywhere at the Toni Sanchez, Toni with an I, Sanchez with a Z. But I have to warn you, ever since the pandemic, I got a real job. I got a straight job. I work at a nonprofit, so and then also just because of normal pandemic depression, I haven't really been generating content the way that I used to. But I think now that we're coming out of it, I'm going to WonderCon, so I think that might be the kick in the pants that I need to dive back into the things that I love. And I don't need to be so complacent and sad about it, because I couldn't see my friends the way that I could have for the past few years. So find me there at the Toni Sanchez. What else did I do? I've got a couple of podcasts that are on hiatus. I've got I also co-host the Astonishing X Show, and my co-hosts have been really lazy. A little lazy about no, I shouldn't say lazy. We're all very busy people. I'm just trying to shame them into recording another episode with me, just because we keep on trying to plan the next episode. It's not been working out, so now I'm just trying to emotionally blackmail them right now. But yeah, I co-host the Astonishing X Show. We just go back and talk about all iterations of the X-Men. We've gone through the first 2 seasons of the animated X-Men series. But yeah, check me out mostly on my social media for any new future projects, especially once I get out of my pandemic depression. So this is a good start. I love this. Thank you guys for having me on. So
Well, always happy to have all of you, any of you, whenever you want to be on. I'm just gonna do this little blurb. That's all the time we have today to talk about Selena, the movie from 1997, 25 years old. My lord. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to join our Discord so that we can keep the conversation going. Shout out to Whitney, Toni, Kelly for taking time out of their busy schedules. So absolutely follow them. Don't stalk them. Be nice and respectful, and visit them every time they have a panel, or they're going to a con, or they're doing a fancy thing. Just saying. Nom Watch review and basic binges are now in podcast form. If you miss our live stream, which currently you're technically not, don't worry, because we will have it up in 2 days. Because we've just upgraded to, what is it? Partner, affiliate, whatever. Something on Twitch. Yay! Congratulations, everybody. But you can listen to us on Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, I think Apple wherever you listen to podcasts. Just subscribe, review, tell me how much you hate me. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a little like on Facebook and Instagram, aka the Meta. As well as here on Twitch at Nom Talk Network. Everyone, anywhere. I'm going to skip that bit because I am the producer and the host today. Tune in to our next show, which is tomorrow, where we are going to talk about the Hunger Games celebrating 10 years. Jesus, I'm old.
Oh God, already?
I know!
Ah, I remember when the books came out. Oh God, I feel old.
Anyways. Until tomorrow, I am your host, Stephanie, and y'all have a nomorific day.